Hello and welcome to this month's Gnosis drawing video. So this is another month where I'm using the AI a bit for it. You'll see that step come up later if you're wondering why I'm using AI in my drawings and how that's going to impact stuff. I invite you to go and check out last month's drawing video in which I go into more details about how I plan to use AI in my drawing and kind of my expectations and hopes that I wish how AI would develop. So that's just kind of a warning to not get too scared when that pops up. AI is used more as a kind of a collection of ideas that I want to take a look at rather than actually determining how I'm going to make my drawing completely. One thing I will note with the AI that I did find interesting is the little skirt thing that Levita is wearing. I had always thought that that was going to be red. I didn't know what shade of red, but I knew it was going to be red. And in the first AI iteration drawing it did, it made that red. So I thought that was very interesting. That despite just the line sketch being uploaded, the AI was able to sort that out and determine that color-wise this should be red. So that was just something really interesting there. That was something that it just also came to the conclusion on. So now that that's out of the way, I guess further introductories of I am lacking a name, and I do a webcomic called Gnosis, updates Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. And this here is the voting drawing page for April. And so I do these every month along with a drawing video, and I hope that you enjoy it. That as a watcher and as a reader, you enjoy it. And if you haven't been a reader, that you come and enjoy it. The story of Gnosis. We got a fun little community there. So drop on by, have a good story, and maybe leave a comment or so if you enjoy it enough. So, continuing kind of this month's theme for a drawing video is I'm talking about more video game stories. I did a similar video about this probably 2 or 3 months ago. And so I thought I could revisit the topic. That old video I talked about kind of, as kids, how playing video games together kind of strengthened our relationship as siblings, especially with me and my brothers, and kind of what came off of that. And so for this month, I'm talking more about our recent gaming stories. We still play games together. We live apart now and in different parts of the country. But through the wonders of the internet, we're still able to play games with each other twice a week. I'm sure we could do it more, but my brothers have families of their own, so that takes maybe just a little bit more attention than games do. So starting off, kind of going to talk about the Lords of the Fallen game. I think this was the 23 release, and me and my brothers we enjoy Souls-like. We enjoy playing them together. I know some people will rightfully say, well, co-oping a Souls-like is easy mode, and that's a accepted line of argument, but we also just enjoy the challenge of those games, and having co-op doesn't really, or rather the challenge does a good job at offsetting the co-op with them. So that's just a lot of fun for us to do together. So with Lords of the Fallen 23, me and my brother Fluffyhead McMillan were playing through it when it came out, and despite the launch problems it had, we were still having a lot of fun with it. It's a very art direction wise game. It's very, very good, and the fights are fun and got a lot more movement than what one would expect from other Souls games. So kind of late stage of the game, you go to a monastery that has been corrupted. And so as me and Fluffyhead are working our way through the game, this monastery, we find a fountain with red liquid coming out of it. And so we look at it and he goes, "Hey, do you think that's wine or blood?" I said, "I don't know, but we're about to find out if this is a fun time apostasy or a really bad time apostasy." So we laugh and continue playing the game, and we reach kind of one of the climaxes of the area where we find a chapel that just a whole lot of butchery has gone in and such. And I like lean into my mic and I'm like, "I think this is the bad time apostasy." So that really kind of set the mood. That, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious from the first red liquid that we saw that, yeah, it's blood. And so we were always in for a bad time apostasy. But that just was just a perfect setup and execution that in the game. So a few years go by till last week. All right, at the time I'm recording this. And me and my other brother, Albino Chimp, are playing through the same game, Lords of the Fallen. And much like in Dark Souls and in Dungeons and Dragons, Lords of the Fallen also have mimics. Now, in Dark Souls and Dungeons and Dragons, your traditional mimic is a treasure chest, all right, with a big old mouth on it that will chomp down on you. For Lords of the Fallen, they don't do that. They instead take the item icon, which is just a little item that you could pick up. It's just a little like glowing light on the ground that you could pick up, and it'll be, some berries or maybe a whole suit of armor or whatever. It could be anything that it wants it to be. But in Lords of the Fallen, these can be mimics or the potential to be mimics. And so in the game, they're like a little glowing fire with a tail that comes up off of it. That's for the item pickup. A mimic version of it will take that fire tail and kind of fling it around a bit more to get the player's attention. And that's the only way you have to tell if an item is a mimic or not. It took my brother a few tries to find out what a mimic was, and he technically never did. Me and Fluffyhead had to tell him how to identify a mimic. And so once he learned that trick, he's like, "Oh, okay." So we come to me and Albino Chimps, our playthrough together, and he's the host of the game, meaning he can put us into Umbral and start the boss fights and such and progress the quest lines. And I'm just the co-op partner. I can't put us into Umbral, start boss fights, progress quest lines. I can't do any of that. But I can also still pick up items. So I come up to where there is a mimic, and I press the button to pick it up. Well, since I can't put us in Umbral, which is what happens when a mimic chomps down on you, I suppose I should specify, Umbral is kind of like a shadow realm of the world, all right? With a lot of extra monsters in there. So this is that, I suppose, quick clarification. But because I can't put us in there, in that part of the game, I can't pick up the item. I could just play the animation like I'm picking up the item. So on Albino's end of the game, because he's the host, he can't see if I picked up an item or not. He can only see that I'm where there's a glowing thing and the animation for picking up has played on me. So he thinks this mimic is just an item. So he just runs up, picks it up, and boom, big scary monster chomps down on him. He's like, "What? I thought that was safe." And he decided that I was a terrible brother, and that I deserved to be shot with a crossbow from a bad guy right after that for betraying him in such a manner. So that was a fun little moment there. And so when we're coming back through the area, I see another mimic. So I run up like there's an item we forgot to pick up, grab it, and he goes, "No, I'm not falling for that. I saw it flicker." So I almost got him again, and we both agree that if I gotten him a second time, it would have been way funnier. But that's not how that happened. So rolling back in time, I mentioned that we like Souls-like, and so a Souls-like, of course, that we played was Elden Ring. And so me and Fluffyhead were doing our first playthrough of the game. Now, much like with Lords of the Fallen, when you are the co-op partner in Elden Ring, you can't start a boss fight. So if you try and enter an arena where there's supposed to be a boss, there's just a big fog wall that pops up that you can't go through. The host player can't see this fog wall, but as the guest player, you can. So we're towards the late end of the middle part of the game, where I think it's called Lindell, the big Earth Tree City. Me and Fluffyhead are working our way up along this tree, and you come to a point where there's a balcony that you drop off a branch onto, and then you can enter just in this room. Big balcony, big entryway to it. Think nothing of it, except this is a surprise boss fight is in there. All right, so we're coming up, and I see the fog wall, and I just don't say anything. And so my brother goes in, boss fights, and he's like, yeah, boss! So we beat the boss, and we swap over then to my part of the game where I can host it. So I can kill the boss. And so we're going up there, just moving along. And as we approach this balcony, my brother sees the fog wall and goes, you suck. You know there was a boss. You knew there was a boss there, and you didn't say anything. Like, yep. That's right, I sold you out. So this turned into a bit of a game, especially going into the DLC, the Shadow of the Earth Tree for the game, where by this point Albino Chimp had joined us, so whichever brother was hosting it, if we're going into the new area, the other two would just try and BS their way if they saw a boss wall. So like we'd just be running along and stop, and it's like Fluffy, I go, why you stop? Like, oh, I'm just checking something in my inventory. He goes, all right. Sits there for a minute. Goes, you done? Like, no, still checking. He goes, you're lying, aren't you? You're checking stuff too, Albino. There's a boss there. I know there's a boss. You could quit lying. And so that was just a fun game to play. That we learned, of course, easy enough to spot where a boss is, where you're going through small tunnels, and then there's all of a sudden a big, huge room. Probably a boss in there. But we also learned how to watch each other for when we started BSing stuff to try and hide that there was a fog wall. So that was just a fun game that we played. And so when me and Fluffyhead were doing our very first playthrough in the game, this is a little bit earlier. We're in, like, I think it's the Nocturne City or whatnot, kind of the underground starry city. And me and him are looking off in the distance at kind of a Greek gazebo temple looking thing. And we're talking about how do you get over there, because we can see some pillars that are like descending down towards it, but we can't see like a land bridge connecting over towards those pillars. So they're just kind of up on these big pillars over the Deathless Pit Cliffs. I mean, the Death Pit Cliffs. Not deathless. They're quite dangerous. They'll kill you quite fast. And so he's talking about, well, maybe you drop down from this pillar to that pillar and then onto the gazebo. And I go, so from the gazebo to that pillar. He's like, no, that pillar, this pillar, not that pillar. So this one here, no, that one. And so just kind of playing a who's on first type game, where I keep deliberately mixing up which pillars he's talking about, because we keep just saying this and that. And so we'll go on for this for like, I lead him on for like probably like maybe close to 15 minutes, and he's getting frustrated. He's like, no, that, this, then that. And I'm like, so this, that, no. And I kept it together until I decided to crack. And it's like, so this one? He goes, you suck. You've just been leading me on, haven't you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh my gosh, wasting my time. Waste like 13, 11 minutes here. And so that was a great success of mine, just wasting his time by playing dumb. So he got frustrated at that, and so every once in a while when we're playing a game like, so that over there, he'll, no, we're not doing that. You know darn well where it is. So that is a great recurring joke that occurred. Now, a joke that comes up in a different form. At the point when we were playing Elden Ring still. If you go past, I think it's the Painter's Shack, you'll find kind of these two jutting rocks over this ravine that you have to that make a semi-bridge that you have to jump a bit to clear. And so we're running out there, climbing over these rocks when my sister, the rider, gets on. Now, me and her husband, whom I'll call the doctor, he's not a doctor yet, but that's what he's trying to be. So that's just going to be his code name until something else changes. The three of us were playing a game at the same time together. And they had thought that they had something to do that night, and so we weren't going to be able to do games. So me and Fluffyhead were playing Elden Ring. And we... So me and Fluffyhead are kind of moving along in this area. My sister, the rider, gets on. She goes, "Hey, our plans changed. We can do games tonight." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm playing with Fluffyhead right now. Do you want me to hop off and join you guys?" She's like, "Well, if you're busy." I'm like, "No. I was playing games through a game with you first." "That's right, Fluffyhead. You were the side chick." And So my brother getting classified as a side chick was not something that he was okay with. But my sister, the writer, she absolutely found this hilarious. So we all had a big old laugh at this at his expense, and we decided that no, I was going to keep playing with my brother, and they were going to go play a different game. So it worked out in that case. But now every time when we come to that part of the map, that joke replays of Fluffyhead being the side chick. And so that's just a great little replaying joke attached to that one particular part of the map. And so now going into the game that me, the writer, and the doctor were all playing together. We're playing Divinity Original Sin 2. So, kind of starting off how this game went. For those who haven't played it, it's a I think they call it a tactical RPG, where fights are done through turns on kind of a overview map of the battlefield. It's like tabletop gaming, I think, a bit more, if you're familiar with that. And it's not tuned to be a very easy game. Like, death can be permanent in the game, and so if someone dies, you have to go back and load a save. Unless you have special resurrection scrolls, which are kind of expensive. And so this is just to kind of classify that this is not an easy game for people who aren't expecting it. And my sister and her husband, they were not expecting this. So we start off the game. We make our characters. I make a undead summoning skeleton, or a summoner skeleton that specializes, by say, like in summoning. I should specify my character was a skeleton, and his skill was summoning monsters. All right, not summoning other undead. My sister, she makes a lizard folk with big furry feathers for a head on her head that she was quite happy with. And the doctor, he makes the most creative decision ever and goes with human stealth archer. So yeah, so he's breaking new grounds with that one. So we load into the map, and I look over at my sister and see this long blue snake with big feathery head things. I go, "Hello, long one," to which immediately sets her name to being the long one throughout the rest of the game. Now, if any of you recognize kind of the cadence in which I said that, then you know where it's from. It's a fun movie and a good time. So that was a lot of fun there. And we go into kind of the first area of the game. Now, the doctor, he's playing this like Skyrim. So he starts stealing everything that isn't nailed down and trying to pickpocket people. He doesn't realize that Divinity Original Sin 2 uses a much more comprehensive theft detection system. So immediately he gets caught. And this starts a big brawl in the ship. So we have no real weapons. And I'm trying to cheese the game with my summon totems. And we're just kind of, just in this big brawl in the middle of the ship, fighting with everyone. And the doctor, he's like, he doesn't know what to do. So he's running around the game, misclicking on the field, misclicking stuff. And basically like runs up to the brawl, shouts, and uses an encouragement thing. And it's like basically runs up to this brawl, goes, "You can do it!" And then turns around and runs and sits in the chair. So he starts the fight, encourages everyone to fight. And I'm just going to sit in this corner. Like it's not his fault. So that also kind of set the tone for it, where he's not really playing a stealth archer, he's playing a trolley rogue. So kind of after the first part of the game, you meet your individual races meet their god, and the first thing he does when he meets his god is pickpocket it. He's like, "Oh, hi there, ting ting, what you got in here?" So yeah, that's immediately the type of person he is. So the next day when I see him at church, I tell him, I was like, "Hey, remember, no, don't try and pickpocket God in here. That's not okay." So that was a nice little moment there with him, the little kleptomaniac. Kind of other parts when we're playing through as me as a mage, I'm running the teleporting gloves. And so I decided to take this opportunity to torment the rider, my sister, where if there's someone where we need to go or somewhere we need to be, I'll just teleport her there. And so this turns into a bit, like I said, a bit of a running gag. So we have to get up somewhere and like, "Long one, come here." She's, "No!" Hits the stealth mode, hides on the barrel. "I am barrel!" Just starts like walking off. So that trying to hide from me, so I can't teleport her. So that was a nice little improv comedy on her part. Since I'm playing undead, I have to try and hide myself, otherwise all the NPCs will freak out. But the great thing about this is this only applies to the armor you have equipped, not to the actual model of the armor. So in other words, I just have to have armor equipped to hide that I'm a skeleton, as opposed to does the armor actually cover my bones or not. So this becomes pretty important early on, because the first cloth set of gear you get in the game is like raggedy witch doctor robes. And so I'm wearing like this tattered leopard skirt that only like comes down to my knees. I got just these bony legs poking out from under it. Like, "Hello, fellow flesh bags. Fine day for sloshing, is it not?" Again, if you recognize that one, yeah, then you've played a good game. But yeah, just totally selling that I'm this undead, trying way, way too hard to convince other people that I am in fact not just bones rattling about. So we keep playing through the game, and since I'm playing a summoner, the first thing you can really summon is a little imp-like creature that we name Chibi. And Chibi quickly becomes like a good friend in our party. He's very reliable. He can do good damage. He can shoot fireballs depending on how you summon him. He's a reliable friend in our little group. Well, the thing is with summoning is as you level it up, you can summon something bigger. So one time we go into a fight and I summon Chibi, but Chibi has grown up. Instead, this big old gorilla-like demon pops up, and my sister goes, "Whoa! Chibi got fat!" or something to that effect. And so we decided to change Chibi's name to Chug Chug. I don't know why we changed him that way, but yeah, Chug Chug became our new favorite member of the group. Just this big old gorilla that could squash stuff. So he was a lot of fun there, and still just as loved. We just couldn't hold him on our laps anymore. So Now, my sister looks up the ending of the game, and she realizes that at the end of the game, the players can fight for who becomes the next divine. And so she makes a plan. All right, I've teleported her through this game. I make fun of her being a eel or snakety snake. She's going to dedicate her character build to killing me at the end of the game. So, me being a squishy mage, I don't have a lot of physical armor. So she goes into a heavy, tanky warrior, and her plan is to just squash me at the end. So, months go by of her with this plan. I don't know if it's like 4 or 3 months of her building. And we come to the end of the game, and the question is asked, do we seize the power? The doctor selects yes. The writer selects yes. Me, I do the ultimate move and select no. You can fight for the power, but you don't have to fight for the power. So we load into the arena. The doctor at one end, the writer at the other, our NPC that we had with us, which doesn't really factor, we just stuffed the NPC off to the side, and then me next to the writer. So she thinks that this is great, that she's won. She's just going well on me and immediately kill me, only to discover she can't actually target me. Because since I'm technically on her team, she can't deliberately target me and hurt me. And so she just starts screaming about how I ruined her plan, and just tries to kill me with AoEs. And so this turns into a race where I have to go and kill the doctor to end the fight. And so of course I'm able to go kill the doctor, teleport my sister one more time before killing the doctor just to mess with her, and he dies. She becomes the writer becomes a new divine. She wins the game, and we're sitting at the end of the game, and she's like, new divine, but she didn't win. She may have become the divine, but I became the legend. I ruined months and months of her plans in a single decision of not to be greedy. So that's one of my greatest trollish accomplishments in a video game. And it wasn't even against my brothers, it was against my sister, which, to be fair with her, I don't get to play games with her as much, so she's not used to the effort that goes into trolling someone, and what you could do with that. So that hit her pretty hard. I don't think we've played a game together since then. I mean, we've done family games like playing Minecraft or Halo together, but she hasn't joined any campaigns really after that. So it might have left a scar there. So, one of the nice things about kind of the modern form of gaming now is the tangential stuff that comes off of this. So my brothers are both married and have wonderful little kids. My nieces that are great. And so sometimes when we're playing games, I'll hear about how they have to deal with their kids or their wives and such. So this has led to a couple of fun moments. So this actually happened just the very last time I played with Albino Chimp before recording this. That one of his daughters got up and was having a hard time sleeping, and she comes out and asks him, "Who are you playing with?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm playing with Uncle Lacking." And he's like, "Okay, you need to go to bed." And he goes to put her to bed, and he's still wearing his headset, and he goes, "You want to say goodnight to Uncle Lacking's name?" She's like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, tell her I say goodnight anyways." It goes, "Well, he says goodnight anyways, and that he loves you." So that was just a nice, fun little moment. There's been some times when she'll put on the headset and we can try and talk to her. She isn't quite yet old enough to understand how it works, so she just sits there. But that's something that I'm looking forward to is when they understand how the system works, and they can say, we could tell them good night. The other funny thing is, Fluffy Head, his wife, she likes to take what she calls an appetizer before she goes to sleep, which means she just takes a short nap on the couch and then will get up and go to bed. The thing is, sometimes she talks in her sleep. So we're playing games one night and we hear her goes, there's just stuff, all right? It's just stuff everywhere. And we're like, and he's like, huh, what do you mean? She like points and he tells her, she's like pointing at a corner of the room, but it's not. She's like, it's just stuff. And goes, there's nothing there. Go back to sleep. And she's like, all right. And lays down and goes to sleep. So just kind of random little moments in there of playing games. When we were playing Helldivers together, Fluffy had told me that his daughter, Hair Muncher, she was watching us. And when we were fighting the bugs, she goes, shoot the dinosaurs, shoot the dinosaurs. So that was a fun little moment with her. But yeah, Fluffy had shared a great story with us where this happened after we had done games, and so he was still awake, playing on his phone or reading something. And his wife was asleep, and so he's just laying in bed, and she just goes, I don't like the faces on the ceilings, and then lays back down, and he's like shining his light up on the ceiling and seeing what faces. But yeah, he said that was probably the scariest thing she's ever said to him. So those are just a few fun stories about playing games together. And kind of what comes out of it. So if you have siblings, I recommend taking up time to play games with them. It's a great way to stay connected, get fun stories out of it, and a good way to, like I said, stay in touch and learn about how the nieces and nephews are doing. So I hope that you enjoyed these stories and this drawing. It's available on Patreon, and along with an exclusive Patreon member drawing there as well. If you want to pop over and pick that up, the help is always appreciated. And come by and check out Gnosis. We update Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We got more great stories going on there and a nice little community developing. So come have some fun and leave a comment if you enjoy it, or if you're so inclined. And something I forgot to do at the start of this month is thank the Patreon members on Gnosis. And I think I'm going to include this going forward, but I want to thank the Patreon members with these videos as well. So thank you to the amazing supporters of my mom, Ewan Reed, I think is how you say that, and the Animus Seer. So thank you, have a great day, and I hope things go well for you. Goodbye.